What is going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Modern Warfare 2 PC port for 2022. That's right, 2022 Modern Warfare 2. That's a lot of twos, but you guys requested it. I put out a poll last week on YouTube and Twitter asking if you guys would rather see port first for this or Gotham Knights, and you guys voted for Modern Warfare 2, so here it is. We'll be getting into the graphics options, the performance, the frame times, the port quality overall. There's a ton to go over with the options menu, and spoiler alert, the port quality for this is superb, ran beautifully, lots of options to get in there and tweak and really dial in this competitive first-person shooter for yourself, and it's available now. You can get the access to the campaign right now if you purchase it, but the multiplayer and everything else comes out on the 28th. So today I'm going to be talking just about campaign, but this should carry over into the multiplayer, and if not, multiplayer traditionally would run even better. So let's get into those options. But first, today's video is brought to you by SuperCDK.com, where you could save money on games for all of your favorite platforms, as well as software like Windows 10 Pro licenses for just $22, and then you can unlock the prestigious Dark Mode for Windows 10, which I honestly could not live without. It is blinding without the dark mode. You guys need it in your life. And now you can also save an additional 25% off at checkout by clicking Buy Now on any software products over there. Just go ahead and add it into your cart and put in my code JP25 at checkout and apply, and that'll bring our price from $22.44 all the way down to $16.83, a savings of over $5. And I'll walk you through how to get your key and install it on Windows 10. Go ahead and click Submit Order and complete your checkout from there. For me, that's going to be with PayPal, and then click on Pay Now. After completing the checkout, it'll bring you to your purchased order page, and it will update in a matter of seconds, or just go ahead and hit F5. Go ahead and do that one time. It came through literally immediately. I got the payment email that it had gone through and the delivery of the product exactly at the same time. Once you're done with that, go ahead and click on View Keys and Codes, and we'll get our code right here that we can go ahead and copy and paste in on Windows 10 by hitting the Start button and type in the word Activate. When you see that activation settings or see if Windows is activated, go ahead and click on that, and it'll bring up this right here, and click on Change Your Product Key or Unlock Windows 10. As I already have Windows 10, I obviously don't need to put in a new key, but just paste it in and then go ahead and click Next, and you are all done and set. For more information on SuperCDK.com as well as the coupon code, be sure to check out the links down in the description below. We'll start off in the options menu like we always like to do. Really good options menu. This is something they've continued to refine since Modern Warfare came out in 2019. Not a whole lot has changed. I mean, they've added some things here and there, but the performance-wise and the overall port of the games have just continued to get better and better over the recent years since 2019. We've got tons of keyboard and mouse options in there that you can customize mouse sensitivity, you know, all that stuff, calibrations, monitor distance coefficient based on how you're sitting, how far you're sitting from your monitor that you can adjust. And if you look, if I hover over this, it also pops up this little context box to press C to remove or add items to your quick settings. So if there's certain things you might need to change frequently, you can add it into your quick settings options, and then it'll show up right here, so you don't need to dig through multiple menus and scrolling through to find a certain thing. If it's something maybe you change often, like a sensitivity thing, maybe for certain weapons or whatever, you can hop into quick settings very quickly and adjust them and add things onto that. So really, really cool stuff. Getting into the graphics options, thankfully we've got exclusive full screen, unlike the Uncharted PC port. We've also got full screen borderless, full screen extended window, and window to mode. So lots of options there. As you can see, I'm on the 4090 at 144 Hertz, which for some reason shows up as 143.857 at 4K. We've got dynamic resolution and expanded options on that. There's lots of expanded options for many of the things in the game. Running VSync off, but of course you can uncap the frame rate in this. We do have shader optimization, just like since the last few Call of Duties. It'll compile shaders the first time you boot up the game and after driver updates and things like that, but that's going to help the game just run smoother overall. It only takes a couple minutes, so it's really not that bad. Lots of different options here though. HDR, focus mode on or off, brightness settings, gamma, you know, all the typical stuff. And then we get into the quality settings, and as you can see, it shows custom right here, probably because I turned off motion blur or something, but there's just so many options, and by default you would think you could just go to ultra, which you can, but that leaves a lot of options sort of unticked. Like there's certain things that could just go up even higher, but there is actually one, if you scroll down a little bit, there is actually an extreme option in here, which just takes every single setting in the graphics options and turns it up to 11. Like everything that could possibly be maxed out is maxed out with extreme, and that's what I'm playing on right here, but I might have tweaked, like I said, motion blur or film grain or something to affect that. Hey guys, this is Future Editing Joker. I realized while going over this, even though I did mention DLSS later on in the video, I glossed over the options in here, but it does have Intel XeSS support as well as DLSS and NIS, which is NVIDIA's image scaling, which is sort of like an upscaler, but it doesn't really look that good. It doesn't use AI or anything. It's an option, but it's not really great, sort of like AMD FSR 1.0. Sadly, they do not have FSR 2.0 in the game at this time, but they do have FSR 1, as well as Fidelity FX Contact Adaptive Sharpening, or you can run upscaling completely off, which is what I did for my testing. Again, I mentioned this a few minutes later, but I realized I didn't show all of the upscaling options, so now back to the regular portion of the video. Something to affect that. Anti-aliasing, we've got T2X for SMA or Filmic SMA T2X. Oh, I meant to keep that on there. Don't want to change that. Anti-aliasing quality settings as well, so you could set the different qualities for that. You could change your video memory scaling on how much you want to leave available for like background applications. So this was a default 85%, and it seemed fine to me. And these are all the highest settings that these go, as I said, as I'm on the extreme preset. So this just goes to high. If it shows high, that's the highest that it goes. But we've got texture resolution, anisotropic filtering, level of detail for nearby stuff, distant level of detail, clutter draw distance, particle quality level, bullet impacts and spray, shader quality, shader optimization, again, that's compiling the shader stuff, tessellation, we've got near, I don't know why that's not on all, it should be on all, maybe because I was messing around with the options, terrain, memory, on-demand texture streaming, which again, a lot of these have drop-downs, so you could sort of adjust things in here. I think by default this was at like 24 or something, and I raised it up to 40 just because I've got the 24 gigs of VRAM, just like whatever use up the space. Streaming quality, this is the highest that goes, normal. But we've got volumetric quality, deferred physics, water caustics, shadow map resolution. Also, I'd like to add that I like for most of these options on the right-hand side. As you can see, it'll show a comparison if you change it, and also the effect that it has on your hardware, VRAM, graphics card power, all that kind of stuff. Screen space shadows, soft shadow quality, cache spot shadow, spot cache, cache sun shadow. There's so much stuff. Ambient occlusion for both. Show more. There's more. GTA quality. The options just keep going, folks. Screen space reflections. Highest that goes. No ray tracing in this. Shadows or reflections. Weather grid volumes quality. We've got NVIDIA Reflex in here. That's nice. And these are the options that I opted to do: disable depth of field, world motion blur, weapon motion blur, and film grain, which is why it was on a custom setting. So that's all of the graphics options. Let's go ahead, and I'm just going to go ahead and discard any changes. We'll get into the audio here. As you can see at the top here, I love seeing this in games where there's various different audio source qualities, which will adjust the audio mix based on your current setup. So PC headphones, headphones with a bass boost, a sound bar, or a home theater or a cinema setup. I have mine on home theater as I'm using one of the Logitech 5.1 surround sound setups in my office. So that's what I've got on for that. You can adjust mono audio. We've got subtitle adjustments in here that you can change, background opacity, all these crazy accessibility options, interface options. I mean, you really can't argue too much with the robustness of this options menu. Also, under the graphics, there is view options too for FOV, which goes from 60 all the way up to 120. I opt to keep mine at 90. You can change if you want it to affect your aiming down sights. The weapon FOV, you can sort of change whether the gun looks further away from you or closer to your body. I liked it further away, where the gun looks a little bit smaller. It felt really close up to the screen at the beginning, and it was like, oh yeah, you can adjust that too. And I was like, oh my god, this is fucking awesome. Like 10 out of 10 graphics options menu, would recommend. So if you're concerned about that at all, don't worry about it with Modern Warfare 2. I guess you'll just have to make your own choice on whether or not you want to plop down $70 to play a Call of Duty game, which is running fantastic. Of course, I am playing on my 4090, but the frame rate was pretty much over 100 all of the time. But the more key thing to focus on there is that frame time plot. Super duper smooth, almost pretty much a flat line. I mean, the game has DLSS and stuff that you can utilize. It didn't have ray tracing, like I said, but there's DLSS available. I didn't need to use it. I was playing at native resolution the entire time, and it just ran superbly with no issues whatsoever. And of course, for people out there that are on a lower tier GPU, but RTX stuff that can utilize DLSS for 2060s, I'm sure if you're playing on an RTX 2060, if you've played the previous Call of Duty games, you're not going to have any issues running this title here, even though you're seeing me running on a higher-end card at 4K. If you're trying to play it like 1080, 1440p, I'm sure you're going to be able to dial those settings into like medium high and not play on the extreme settings. Use DLSS, very likely even on quality for 1080. Maybe for 1440p, you might have to use performance, but I don't think too many people are going to struggle to really run this game, especially for the multiplayer, which typically with the Call of Duty games is a lot more lenient in terms of the visual effects on screen and being a little bit easier to run, as it doesn't have those big set pieces that are a part of the single-player campaign, which is all we have access to right now. As I stated at the start of the video, the full release is going to be on the 28th. So this is just for the single player, where I thought the visuals were also fantastic. The character models look good. I did note that between the levels, there's usually at least one cutscene that's a few minutes long or so that is pre-rendered. The frame rate shows as like being like almost uncapped. I'm getting like 300 frames per second there, but you could tell by looking at the transition that it's clearly a pre-rendered scene, as there's a lot of film grain on it to make it look more cinematic, and it's very obvious that it's pre-rendered and likely running at 30 or 60 frames per second. But that was a little bit of a takeaway, but it's not that big of a deal. They pretty much have been doing this forever, but I do prefer in-game cutscenes. That's just me personally. I'd rather just be rendered in real time is what I mean. I'd like it to be rendered in real time rather than pre-rendered. I think otherwise it sort of breaks the continuity when it goes from, okay, in-game, in-engine graphics to obviously CGI pre-rendered cutscene, and it sort of just breaks the immersion for me. Even though they might be able to do a lot of animation details, not that they couldn't do otherwise, I still prefer to just have it stay in-engine and render in real time, because seeing also the performance of those things can be very interesting, but with pre-rendered cutscenes, not so much. And those were also letterboxed, which is probably going to be a case for 21:9 or 32:9 users, which is supported, by the way. I think I might have glossed over that in the visual options menu, but there is definitely 21:9 and 32:9 aspect ratio support, which was right into the graphics options menu. So yeah, Modern Warfare 2, as I said, it's available right now. It's $70. It's a little steep, and if you get it now, you do get early access to the single player. And then the full game comes out on Friday the 28th. And I think if you my stepson said that if you beat the campaign before the game comes out on Friday, you get like maybe a couple of like cosmetic unlocks. Don't hold my feet to the fire if that's not the case. This was a 17-year-old telling me this, so take it for what it is. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Please let me know your thoughts on Modern Warfare 2 down in the comments below. And if you've already picked it up, or if you're planning on picking it up, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I look forward to interacting with you guys, and I'll catch you next time for another PC Port Report. Ta-ra.